Right, we are back to What If with What If 25. What if Thor and the Avengers battled the gods? This is by writer Peter Gilbert and penciler Rich Fulcher. It is based on a Silver Age story, a Silver Age Thor story. This Splash as well. This is almost straight from that. Basically, Thor wanted to marry Natalie Portwoman, but Sir Anthony Hopkins was against it because no god shall ever marry a mortal. So Natalie Portwoman was tested by Anthony Hopkins and she failed the test. And so she was sent back to Earth and any marriage was decreed forbidden. This is all from 1966's Thor 136, Stanley Lee and Jack Quimby. A veritable classic. First appearance of the Lurking Unknown as well. Our twist in the story is that this time, Thor isn't a little bitch who accepts whatever his daddy says. Now, when Sir Anthony says that Natalie Portwoman has no place among the gods in fairyland, Thor speaks up. Well, he doesn't speak up that much. He just says, this isn't fair. And that is enough for Sir Anthony Hopkins to practically disown his son and exile him to Earth for defying him. Following this, Thor returns to the Avengers and lets them know about his predicament. It's not great writing. I feel that confrontation between Thor and his dad needed to be a lot more than Thor calling it unfair and then being cast out. I know Anthony Hopkins is unreasonable and all too often a bastard, but Thor's reaction to it also seems like it skips a few sensible or rational footsteps for him to go straight to treasonous warfare. Anyway, he comes to the Avengers asking for their help in challenging Anthony Hopkins. I would place this after Avengers 37, after Charlotte Witch and the Flash rejoin the team after their short break to investigate their origins, which was actually shown in an issue of Thor just before Thor 136. So place this just before Avengers 38, before Hercules Man arrives. That is where to slot this. I think the only problem is Hank Gordon's size. He became able to shrink down to normal again when the twins were away, and other than a couple of panels where it might be perspective, he remains giant size throughout this What If. One thing I always like is when we land on a scene where I think to myself, people will read this and straight away believe that I will hate it, and I get to surprise everyone by not being predictable. Thor asks the other Avengers to battle at his side against his dad, and he says that he knows this isn't their fight, but he hopes they will join him in the name of their friendship. To which the Flash, one of my favourite Marvel characters, declines. He says Thor is right. This has nothing to do with them. He says it isn't his concern and he won't help Thor. That's it. That's the Flash done for the issue. He refuses to help. All the other Avengers go with Thor, but the Flash won't. I like it because it is offering some characterization for him in the story. If he went with them, he'd probably have nothing to do for the whole issue. It would just be scenery. This is basically in character, and it isn't going as far as some other writers do with him and his personality. If you are going to read this issue, please don't read it in a collected edition or the digital version. The colours are fucking horrendous throughout the whole thing. This panel alone has 6 colouring mistakes. Captain America's shield, Wasp's costume, Hank Gordon's his right hand side of his mask, the Flash's hair, Hawkeye's costume, and Charlotte Witch's costume. It's the wrong colours. That is one fucking panel. The whole thing's like that. Look, the Flash's hair on this as well. The Masterworks never got around to What If, and now they're dead. They never will. Marvel have reprinted that incorrectly coloured version of the issue 3 times. A paperback, the complete collections, and then the fucking omnibus. R.I.P. Masterworks. R.I.P. So what we have is Avengers in Fairyland. That is a basic premise. We get to see the Avengers go to and interact with Fairyland. If you are maybe thinking that the conflict between Thor and his dad isn't clear enough which side is good and which is bad, Anthony Hopkins, having only just cast Thor out earlier that day, he now thinks it would be a good time to allow Tom Hiddleston back in Fairyland and involve him in these affairs. He puts Tom Hiddleston in charge of his armies. And then to punctuate this, he also brings back Amanda the Enchanter and Scorch the Egg Cushioner from their imprisonment. We actually don't see Amanda the Enchanter once after this. We can hardly see her ear, even. She is covered in shadows. I like to think this is Ed Canon Maximus, but I like to think that Amanda the Enchanter either saw no point whatsoever in engaging in Anthony Hopkins' personal war with his son, so she sat it out and got drunk like in Secret Wilds. Or, less likely but more hopeful, she actually didn't participate because she loves Thor and she was actually rooting for him. Fairyland's forces are split between Sir Anthony and Thor. Baldric remains loyal to the king, while some guy that looks like Vidar, who hadn't actually been introduced yet, pledges allegiance to Thor and Natalie Portwoman. The Avengers are underpowered to fight the gods, so they get magic plot powers to make it equal. And I believe this panel, the first panel on this page, the top left panel of the Avengers and Natalie Portwoman, I have always believed, likely incorrectly, that image is meant to be a reference to the splash image from Avengers 71. It's probably not. It's just a slightly similar picture setup. And here is Vidar. That is him there. He was introduced 3 years after this. That dude looks so much like him though. Same colour scheme and costume and everything. Although Vidar is a giant, so it's not him. Unless, in this universe, the reason Hank Gordon is still stuck at giant size is because it was Vidar who got shrank down to regular human size instead of Hank Gordon. Now we have a battle of the gods and the Avengers. And here is a double splash by Rich Fulcher. Double splash pages are another reason to mourn the masterworks. They would line them up correctly. Whereas the digital version of this issue looks like this. Not even the same fucking colours across 2 pages. This is a harmless story. It is a fun idea. But I feel the artwork is stilted. It's not quite bringing it all to life the right way. This spread falls pretty hollow, and it shouldn't. It should be a spectacular image, and it's just okay. There's nothing about it that really feels weighty. I will say, this splash, on the other hand, does carry some of what is lacking from its predecessor. This also feels incredibly in line with splash pages we would see in Avengers back in 1966. Captain America vs. Baldrick. I would consider this page, and the bit with the Flash, the best moments of the issue. I do need to mention the Avengers in Fairyland was eventually tackled, or drawn on, in Avengers issue 100. There have been other stories after that which have done so. In the modern age, they're almost visiting Fairyland every 2 years. I feel this issue of What If actually does it better than a lot of those, because the element that is often missing, the thing we never quite got in issue 100 or any time after, is the sense of the other Avengers, for the first time, discovering and experiencing Thor's home. This doesn't do it that much, but little things like the Baldrick fight or the Hawkeye panel coming up, they do it more than the canon comics did. Iron Man dies. It is an issue of What If. It had to happen. Iron Man dies. Tom Hiddleston murders him. And it comes, sadly, after Iron Man did the sensible thing in the issue. He spoke to Sir Anthony and tried to encourage peace between father and son. He even kneels before him. And this is actually a very cleverly written Iron Man. Props to Peter Gilbert for subtly giving Iron Man a little bit of character here. We have some more fighting and interactions. Hawkeye and Legolas, they're both bowmen, that's the thing. Hank Gordon fighting Scorch, they have gone at it before. Scorch was in The Bastards of Evil. Again, begging the question, where is my beloved Amanda the Enchanter in all of this? I'm not saying so from the perspective of I love her and want to see more of her. As I said, I prefer my headcanon that she chose to be above this. Well, they did set her up and then she doesn't appear. Maybe there was a Charlotte Witch and Amanda the Enchanter fight scene that just got cut or something. What we have, though, is a pretty excellent Thor and Tom Hiddleston showdown. Tom Hiddleston gets a bit mad with the power and control that Anthony Hopkins has bestowed upon him. And here we go. Thor versus Tom Hiddleston. It's no Thor 432, but it's pretty good. What makes this time so different, what makes it special for me, is that Tom Hiddleston wins. He beats Thor, and Wasps intervenes and takes out Tom Hiddleston before he can kill Thor. A good bit. I think this isn't a great story. It's an alright one, but it certainly has its bits. There are good bits in this. And our ending is a bit naff and miserable and anticlimactic even. Basically, Fairyland is broken in half. There's two kingdoms. Thor with New Fairyland, and Sir Anthony Hopkins with Fairyland Classic. It's not all over yet. We include a backup feature which is confusingly canon. We have Marvel mythology building from the mind of Marky Mark J. They began doing these backup stories detailing untold tales of the Marvel Universe a few issues earlier. Marky Mark J handles most of them, but Peter Gilbert writes a couple. Those two are quite weak. And Royce Sternum, he does a single one about the fucking cat people. Marky Mark J covers history involving the New Gods. Jack Quimby's stillborn epic that was then incorporated haphazardly into the Marvel Universe. These backups do some legwork to place them better in the Marvel Universe and also establish important or key events in their history. These are solid. Marvel released a one-shot about 5 years ago that reprinted just these, which I was very thankful for. It meant I didn't have to buy a bunch of what-if issues only for these. Add-on? I wonder if they properly restored them. There's a double splash in issue 1, we'll see. Yeah, this is what it looks like. Have they lined it up correctly by going back to the original art? Or is it just the same half-arsed reprint with all the wrong colours and none of the art lined up right? If the two pages blend together well, if it just looks like one picture, they have done. If it doesn't, they haven't. I don't know if I recommend this, but I do like pieces of it. I wish the art was better, and I wish the story was a bit more ironed out, but I'll take this over a bad comic happily. There's enough parts I enjoy to make it worth some time. But no, I don't recommend it because I realise most of you are going to be looking at that version of the comic with all the horrible colours. I'll give a physical copy of this issue a 7 thumbs up.